We're here to do today is to build on that same energy of civic pride and civic engagement. And we're here to talk about our nation, Jamaica, and our love for Jamaica and the contributions of our wonderful Jamaicans to national development. So a key feature of today's event will be a fireside chat. So I see I'm joined here by two lovely men standing behind me. I feel so nervous. I feel so nervous here. They will be joining us today for a wonderful fireside chat with a small group of experts that will tell us about how Jamaicans have contributed to national development over the years in different spheres of influence. So before we begin, I do ask these gentlemen, you can have a seat for now. Don't make me to feel too nervous here. All this time you're standing behind me. So we're going to be joined by a short opening remarks video by Dr. Wayne Henry. He is the Director General of the Planning Institute of Jamaica, and you can turn your attentions to the screen.
Good morning, everyone. Distinguished guests, partners, colleagues, and friends of Jamaica, welcome. It is with great pleasure and a deep sense of national pride that I bring greetings on behalf of the Planning Institute of Jamaica at this, our second event in the Vision 2030 Jamaica Love Jamaica initiative, which was launched on Valentine's Day, February 14, 2025, with a staging of the Love Jamaica Fest under the theme, Jamaica, My Valentine. Today's event is being held under the theme, Love Jamaica, celebrating the contributions of the Jamaican people to national development. Through the Love Jamaica initiative, we are promoting participatory development, deepen civic pride and engagement, patriotism, stakeholder engagement, and a strengthened social contract between the Jamaican state and its citizens at home and abroad. These are key drivers of Jamaica's sustainable development and the Jamaican people achieving their fullest potential. Love Jamaica is about positioning the Jamaican people at the center of our development discourse. Often, national development is discussed in abstract terms with faithless generalizations, numbers, and anecdotes. There is often limited space within these situations to highlight the individuals, the communities, and the everyday heroes whose contributions have shaped our collective identity and progress. As such, today we honor and explore the pivotal roles Jamaicans have played from the 20th century to the present in advancing national development through science, economics, technology, culture, social innovation, and more, all of which have made significant impact far beyond our shores. A highlight of today's event is the fireside chat, which will allow us to engage in a rich dialogue about the real stories of innovation, creativity, and resilience that have propelled Jamaica's development. This conversation will also explore how we can strengthen participatory development, where communities, institutions, and individuals partner in building a Jamaica that works for all. Jamaica's development requires the active participation of its people, proud, empowered citizens who understand their role in shaping the future and are empowered and enabled to lead and contribute meaningfully. As we celebrate, reflect, and envision, I invite each of you to fully participate, share your experiences, offer your perspectives. Let us build on this momentum and collectively recommit to the mission of making Jamaica the place of choice to live, work, raise families, and do business. Let us all continue to love Jamaica, not just in words, but in meaningful action. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Henry, for such inspiring words. I almost said amen because it sounded like he was preaching to us. But thank you so much. And we know a part of Jamaica's development, as Dr. Henry shared, is participatory development. And we see that it's a key driver for our communities, for our people, our schools, and our children to participate and learn about national development starting at a young age and as they grow into adulthood. And we know we are all going to contribute to making Jamaica the place to live, work, raise families, and do business. So what would our little celebration be without some entertainment? And I'm going to ask our wonderful Miss Janae Chantesha, been trying to this one, Chantesha, to join us and to sing to us today. So I welcome her to the stage.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. I can get one of the, he said I should stand behind this monitor here, so discipline, good morning. How are you guys? Beautiful. Because I share on the stage with them and I must have manners. I must stand up here so I can hear myself. How are we feeling this morning? We're good? Look, most I don't bother come up here because she said, Johnny, Shantisha, nobody clap. I said, no, I'm going to go home. I have to go home because nobody's clapping. There we go. I love it, I love it, I love it, I love it, I love it. Let's go, same time. If long time if you stand up behind the monitor, I love to connect with my audience. I'm going to come down here so a little bit, yeah? It good? No, man, turn it up back, man. Smile for me, you I met a girl this morning. She was love at first sight. Ooh, I met a girl this morning. She was beauty to my eyes. She asked me where I'm from, I told her in the tropics. She asked me what's my name, I tell her I am Johnny. And I said, girl, tell me what's your name. She told me that her name is Jamaica. And I said, smile, oh, smile. Smile for me, Jamaica. And I said, smile, oh, smile. Smile for me, Jamaica. Whenever you cry, here am I. Yeah, I'm here for you, Jamaica. What must I try? Oh, smile. You know it? Anybody in the crowd know it? I love this part. Say, she have a rich history. A beautiful woman with the sweetest kiss. Beautiful sunrise and an evening kiss of the nice sunset on the evening seas, yeah. And she tell me that she tired of the exploits and the liar. She give you flower, give you peaches, give you flowers and the fern, and she got this abuse in return. And I say, don't you worry yourself, mama. Johnny is head to your head, mama, yeah. Don't you worry yourself, mommy. One thing me, I beg you do for me. And I say, smile, girl, smile for me, yeah. Smile, smile for me, Jamaica. Whenever you cry, here am I. I'm here for you, Jamaica. What must I try? Give them. The one drop beat on a rhythm. A shake with back with a different stepping. A shake with both body can run left him. Oh, but see ya. Yes, a shake say ya out of idea. She give with art and sweet literature. She make the world see a bigger picture. Yeah, don't you worry yourself, mama. Johnny is head to your hair, mama, yeah. Don't you worry yourself, mommy, baby. I one thing me, I beg you do for me, Jamaica. And I say smile, girl, smile, oh Lord, smile for me, Jamaica. Whenever you cry, here am I, oh, I'm here for you, Jamaica. Dry your eyes, girl, smile, smile for me, Jamaica, yeah. Whoa, oh, 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 smile, 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 say smile, Jamaica, smile for me, Jamaica, yeah. Let's go same time. This one now, I can get a little bit more volume in the monitors. Yeah. Push it up, man. Push it up. Go on, go on, go on, go on. Beautiful, beautiful. That me I talk about. I love dancers, so I'm going to drop 2 foot photo. It cool? Hey, 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 hey. Ah, yeah. There's a land that I have heard about so far across the sea. You know it sing. There's a land that I have heard about so far across the sea. Ooh, yeah. To have you on. You know, give me a hand. My dreamland would be like heaven to me. Sing! To have you on my dreamland would be like heaven to me. We'll live together, just you and me, not them, on my dreamland, and we'll have so much fun. He's so stunned. We'll live together on that dreamland, and we'll have so much fun. We'll get a breakfast from the trees. We'll get a honey from the bees. We'll take a ride on the waterfall. We'll count the stars in the sky. Oh, don't know that part. Sing it. And surely we'll never die. And surely we'll never die. And surely we'll never, never die. Oh, what a time that will be. Oh, just you wait, wait, wait. Thank you so much. You say, she never I expected. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Janae Shantasia. Shantasia is the middle name, but it's just Janae. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for such a wonderful performance. I almost wondered if TVJ was going to call us a trademark in Smile Jamaica with such a beautiful rendition of this song. We believe have made meaningful contributions to Jamaica's national development. So you can turn your attentions to our screens and you can view the videos with us. Thank you.
Hello, the name is Marlon Sutherland. I'm an operations manager and one person I believe that's making Jamaica a better place. I wouldn't say a person in particular, I'll say more the Jamaican athletes, more specifically track and field, such as Usain Bolt, Shelley and Fraser, Safa Power. I definitely believe what they did and what they continue to do off the field is really making Jamaica a better place. Even the present athletes are doing the same, but I believe our past athletes really help to inspire and to push excellence in more than just track and field, but excellence in whatever genre or field anybody decides to do. And with that being said, I believe that really helps to make Jamaica a better place.
Sarika Magan Smith. I'm a chartered accountant and I'm the owner of Magan Company. I'm going to speak from the perspective of a business owner. So I have been operating my company for about 15 years now, and I've had to deal with a lot of business owners, small business owners, and they're being very impactful. They're providing employment, and my company is ensuring that companies are being compliant. They're filing their taxes, which contribute to the development of Jamaica. So in my opinion, small business owners are being impactful.
All right, we thank you. So we can see that our athletes, everybody in the world, no matter where you go, if you speak English or not, everybody know Usain Bolt. You go to the airport, you see Usain Bolt up in the airport. So I'm sure that our athletes have made a wonderful contribution to national development. And I like what she also shared about our small business owners, because it's something with Jamaicans that people don't realize, that everybody have a hustle, everybody have a business. You're driving home from work, you need something to cook. No need to leave your car. You can drive through half a tree, and I'm sure you can get a tin mackerel, rice, the sugar, everything. Development, and we have to also recognize all the work that we all do. So we thank you for those videos. And as we now move into the wonderful, more interesting part of our session today, with these two lovely young men behind me. They might have been wondering why I haven't introduced them, but it was on purpose. So we are joined today by Mr. Joseph Cox, the man that deals with money. I've come to realize today. He is the managing partner at Joseph Cox and Associates, and he is the host of the Caribbean Business Review podcast. So we can give him a round of applause for joining us today. And then we have our wonderful Dr. Herbert Gale. We go way back. He is a social anthropologist and the head of the department about the contributions of the Jamaican people to national development. And I will now hand over the floor to them. So I'm putting you in their care for the next hour and more. So we will tune into them. Thank you.
All right, let me say good morning, and let me start by just telling us a little bit about culture, because quite often when people speak about culture, they actually get it wrong, and part of the reason why I like to clarify what culture is for this exact reason. So culture is really the sum total of all the ritualized practices in a society. And it means, therefore, that culture is going to have high culture, which is a section that all of us cherish and want to have, right? It's going to have mass culture, which is the body of culture where the youth are involved. It's going to have subculture, as in the section that people claim belongs to the people who are disorderly. And then it's going to have, of course, this matter of counterculture, which are the people who challenge the high culture. And in fact, culture cannot work unless it has all of these parts. You can't just have a bunch of highty-tighty people in churches and politics. And I can tell you the areas, and what we call in Jamaica uptown, which is downtown in 80% of the rest of the world, right? People don't know that. What we call uptown is actually downtown, right? And even that inversion is about us Jamaicans. So that's important. When we speak of culture, there are some areas that become very important to us. And one of the first of those areas would be what we call the matter of material culture. And then we have the non-material culture. So the material culture would be technology, all the things that you can touch. So technology, sports, arts, all of these areas, anything you can touch would be the material culture. The non-material culture would be those abstracts. So we're talking here about stuff like, your belief system, religion, entertainment, all right? All of those abstract areas. Your philosophy, because people may not realize every culture has a dominant philosophy, all right? And therefore, when you speak about those areas, you really in Jamaica would reflect on those areas where we have done very well. So let's start from where the the conversation was, and that's track and field. Notice I did not say sports. I did not say football. Even though we went, the Reggae Boys have done well, I said track and field because I want to bring to you the areas where we have dominated the world. And please note the word dominated. And I know quite often when we say the word dominated, our domination, we often think of India, right? We think of China. Those two countries alone have over 2 billion people, right? In fact, over 2.5 billion people. We tend to think of the third largest population, which would be the United States. And we think of, historically, the countries that have been dominant. The smallest one would be Greece, right? Everybody knows that. And so we track our way and we think of what these countries have brought to us. India, we know, has brought to us spice, clothing, festivals. We know the United States has brought economics and the sense of a new democracy, a democracy of hegemony. We know Britain has brought us sports, especially football, and democracy and these things. And we know Egypt, of course, can't leave out Egypt, would have brought us a history of architecture, of course, religion and governance. In fact, the first frame that we know from Sumeria and up to that being Greece with a population of about 10 million people. And you move to the small countries and suddenly one of them pops up. It doesn't matter where in the world you do culture, Jamaica has to be mentioned. And if it's not mentioned, raise your hand in that class and say, Prof, you got it wrong. There is a small country that competes with all of these powerful countries. And I'll show you how it competes, track and field. If you take the 5 fastest men in history, 3 are from Jamaica. Does that even make sense? With a population of just about 2.8 million, you have 3 of the top 5 fastest. And then if you want to double the trouble, move over to the women. Out of the top 5, we have 2, right? I figure some people need to know the 3 men, right? It's Usain Bolt, it's Asafa Powell. Let me put them in order. It's Johan Blake and, of course, Asafa Powell. And for the 2 women who are in the top 5 fastest women in history, it would be, of course, let me see if anybody know them. Elaine, yes. Elaine Thompson-Herah and, of course, Shelley Ann Fraser. So that's powerfully weird. Ever hear that combination yet? That's weird for one tiny space to have that kind of power. And when you look, Jamaica produces the most track and field talent per capita in the history of the world. Can you imagine you have 250 million people, but every time a Jamaican comes up beside you, you get scared. Worst of all, if one of them having a green or bright yellow hair, right? You get really, really scared. And that tells you. And then we can move to the area of governance, right? I've been amazed at what we've achieved in the area of governance and politicking and democratization. And Carlstone immediately pops into my head. I don't know if you've noticed that a lot of places you go in the world and you begin to look at political anthropology or political sociology or so forth, suddenly this one Jamaican pops up in your textbook, Carlstone. And it means a lot to me, right? And then if we move to the area, right? If you move now to the area of philosophy, clearly somebody pops up in your head, and that person would be, of course, Marcus Garvey. I don't know how many persons actually take time out to reflect on how powerful that name is. I'm walking in New York, right? And as I walk in New York, I stop by a park to buy, a bottle of juice. And I looked up and I saw a plaque, Marcus Garvey Park. Do you know what that does to me? I'm like, hold on, but I'm at Yard. And that for me has been really, really awesome to know that we have been able to make that kind of impact on the world. But I want to go to language because quite often we forget language. And immediately it pops into my head. Go to the Urban Dictionary, right? At some point, I want you to go to the Urban Dictionary and just look for the contribution of Jamaican words to youth culture worldwide. Cool is no longer about temperature. It's about a pose, a chill. Cool a dog, right? Even the word dog is no longer, right? Dog is no longer, and you watch movies. And I'll never forget, there was a movie called Too Fast, Too Furious. They ran the movie, right? And after they ran the movie, somebody said, but there's no laugh moment, right? And I can't say what the words they put in, but they put in two Jamaicans crossing the roads when the cars were passing, and they uttered two. And you know in Jamaica we say utter two, right? And the movie, it just got elevated. Now imagine what we consider to be an expletive is actually an elevating moment for people. That's how powerful we are. So I want us to look a little bit at food. And I can't ever imagine that when you go and you type in the top 100 restaurants in the world, there is one of them, right? Norma on the Terrace. Isn't that crazy? We don't just go to world jerk festivals and dominate people and so forth. We actually have restaurants that are ranked, that people know that when you come to Jamaica, this is where you go. And it's interesting because I sat beside a friend of mine one day. So I grew up not liking food, right? I know somebody's going to say, yes, it shows. It's fine. It's fine. And then I remember trucking back and forth to Negril, Hedonism 2 with my brother, who became one of the top chefs in Jamaica. His name is Joshua Shand. And he said to me, Herbs, you have to like food, man, because food is our culture. If you don't like food, you're not a Jamaican. And I started observing food, and then I saw tons and tons of fast food flooding into Jamaica, and I was going, all right, how are they going to fit in Jamaica? Because in order for your fast food to come to Jamaica and do well in Jamaica, that fast food has to be better than any other fast food in the world. Within 5 years of my having that discussion with my brother, the fast food in Jamaica were ranked above the rest of fast food in the world. Isn't that crazy? So people will leave from, and I don't want to give any free ads, but people will leave from New York and come to Jamaica to buy the same food they have in New York, because in Jamaica, the one we have is better than everybody else's.
It is different.
It tastes different.
It is different.
Yeah, more spice, more everything. And so, folk, I want to introduce to you a country I have grown to love immensely. I have been to 90 odd countries in this world, and I can tell you straight up, as slender as you think, or lanky as you think I am, I lose weight if I'm in any country for more than 9 months. 9 months is my barrier. Need to come back. And when I get to the airport, I actually buy food. It's that bad for somebody who doesn't like food. So that tells you how powerful we are, and I really wish for us to begin to embrace this place, protect this place, take care of it, and make it our own. I say on my radio program every day at 12:35 religiously, take care of a neighbor, take care of your country. All right? We love this place.
Peace and to do. Yep. So what now? I'm supposed to speak at this point in time after that? Surely not. All right, folks, here's the thing, and I'm going to pick up where Herbert left off. You know, when he references the matter of food, one of the things that we seldom remember in Jamaica is that Jamaica probably has, if not the best, it's really ranked up in the top 3, I would think, in terms of fusion cuisine. Because we have the elements of Africa, Asia, including India. You have Native American influences, and of course the South American influence in it as well, which gives us this unique flavor that we bring to the world. And that's one of the reasons why we are so popular. And I'm saying this to say that long before, I mean, every day you hear about the exceptionalism of other countries, right? You hear them They're trying to convince themselves every day how exceptional they are. The truth of it is that Jamaican exceptionalism has been part of our ethos from, frankly speaking, from we came around. Because if you look at the average Jamaican contribution and how we look at things, we're resilient people. We're very creative, right? And trust me, we are innovative. Some might say we're too innovative sometimes with the wrong things, but we're still innovative. And this is a reality of life. Now, part of the challenge that we actually do face is that we have too many of our unsung heroes that we do not even recognize and we don't remember. We have a generational challenge, and of course, when we come back to have some of the further conversations, we have to look at again how we're losing part of our culture, to be honest with you. We're losing it. When you look at the generational divide, we're having a serious problem. But I'll come back to that. But when you start to look at the economic contributions, right, of our people across this world, then you start to recognize truly how exceptional we are. And that resilience and the effective contributions that the average Jamaican makes is second to none. So let me start. I'll just carry you down memory lane, as it were. Because when I heard the Chronic's rendition, I had to smile. But look at somebody like, how many people in this room remember the name T.P. Lecky? Right? A handful. Reality of life. T.P. Lecky introduced the Jamaica Hope breed. Why was that essential? It's essential, and it's funny when we hear speaking about a fireside chat in hot Jamaica, but the reality of life is that the Jamaica Hope breed was brought into play to deal with the heat, right? It's a combination of dairy cattle, what we know as Indian cow, plus the Holstein cattle. That was genetically, call it engineered if you will, to create the Jamaica Hope breed. What that did, it created a whole new dynamic for a number of our small and medium-sized farmers and so on in terms of milk production, etc. That is a long-lasting legacy. That is second to none in the world. Good. Then we look at people like, and let me keep in that same thing, because T.P. Lecky is what do you call it, animal geneticist. Right? Keep in the same mode. You look at somebody like Henry Lowe, Dr. Henry Lowe, industry, globally, is renowned. We know he committed his last derivatives, coming out of cannabis, or what we know as ganja. Right? But he used that for glaucoma and other such things. Now, that is just one of several items that he has been responsible for, right? And that type of contribution, again, is second to none. We don't have the resources that the developed countries would have, but yet still, we show that sort of resilience and ingenuity in treating with things. On a straight economic stance or footing, we have people like J. Arthur Brown. J. Arthur Brown, the first central bank governor, same throughout the country. And J. Arthur Brown was not just part of that. That was not his only contribution. J. Arthur Brown was, at one point, alternate governor to IMF, IDB, World Bank. He's also alternate governor to the CDECON, to academia, and the world of scholarship is again world renowned. You understand me? And I mean, his contribution was not just that. He has been involved in the past in development of some 5-year development plans, industrial policies, etc. And he, as well as the next person I will mention, Gladstone Hutchinson, produced the growth inducement study, right? Which, frankly speaking, has been charged with one of the most transformative bodies of work that has been done. It moved Jamaica, or it created the dynamic where Jamaica moved along a continuum from short-term stabilization strategies to treating with the long-term development of a plan. So you twinned it with your growth impulses with your long-term development strategy, which is your Vision 2030. And of course, his partner in crime in that, which is Gladstone Hutchinson. Gladstone Hutchinson, long advisor to the government of Jamaica, but of course the substantive thing, post is at Lafayette University in the States. These guys also, I mean, when you look at what Gladstone Hutchinson has been also contributed, he was a person who also initiated the community renewal program, where you looked at the 100 most vulnerable communities, right? Between the crime or just straight vulnerability, all sorts of interventions. These are strategic transformative mechanisms that honestly, many countries to this day, if you recognize Jamaica right now, I mean, I have to say right now because years ago we used to be the butt of all sorts of jokes, but right now we are the poster child. Our achievements are being hailed globally in terms of the economic transformation in this country. Right? So we start to look at that. Then now, when you move on further, you start to look at ICT, right? And the development of that. You look at persons like Mervyn Ear. Mervyn Ear was a man, well, I knew him from ICL, Fujitsu, head. The reality of life, what does somebody like Mervyn Ear bring to the table? Those are the guys who brought in some of the banking systems, start to transform our adoption of what we call them, automated teller machines, or some people call them automated banking machines, the same thing. Those are the kinds of contributions that you make. And of course, you have somebody like, whose name you don't hear very often in this space, Edmundo Hennes, who is the head of the multi-link system, which, frankly speaking, benefits 1.8 million Jamaicans who use the ATM cards. That is the framework, that is the technological background or backdrop of the ability to use your ABM cards. No, I'm saying all of this to say that one of the things we need to recognize, ladies and gentlemen, is simply this. Jamaican exceptionalism is not episodic. It is something that is ingrained in our ethos. It is something that we need to embrace, we need to recognize constantly. And sometimes we are our own worst enemy because we are also an impatient people. So we want, and worse nowadays in this era of social media, everybody thinks that the world is like a video game. So you get instant gratification, or at least by the end of 30 minutes or 45 minutes, it will be well. This is a process, and sometimes we need to get out of our own way and embrace what is it that we do have. Because Herbert is right. We have some of the best music in this world. I am a collector, a proud collector of music, and I can assure you that there is nothing more factual than that. Right? But when we start to look at the groundwork that has been established in terms of the economic base, the contributions of the varied persons who have really lent their intellectual prowess to this country, it is something that we should all be proud of. And let's be clear, the names that I have mentioned here, this is not an exhaustive list, right? There are many other persons. I mean, when I heard Herbert speaking, you know who also came to my mind? VCB, Veronica Campbell Brown. And to make myself older than I am, even though I'm being referred to as lovely. Right?
Merlin.
No, but you have to go back in time sometimes to appreciate what you have. Don Quarry.
Merlin Atti.
Merlin Atti. So let us be very clear. Our bench is deep. Exceptionalism is part of us. This is what we have achieved. Sometimes we just need to exercise a little patience, but the reality of life is that we are, as the real saying, the Jamaican saying is, we're little, but we're talawa. And it's something that we need to embrace, we need to recognize, and we need to celebrate that constantly as we speak to the issue of why we all continue to love Jamaica and be very proud as Jamaican people as we move forward. So I will yield there. Thank you very much.
I want us to talk a little bit about Jamaica's good bad attitude of going places and taking over the people them things. Right? And we have to take this one very seriously because people find us very annoying. So there's a chap by the name of Griff O'Neill. In 1996, he started the World Championship of the Creative Arts, the Performing Arts, right? That's called WACOPA. People may not be aware. I know this year there's some politics going on with it because of what's happening. So it's been postponed. But what is strange is that Jamaica it's been done now for 28 times and Jamaica has won it 4 times. Does that make sense? The last one was last year, 2024, Jamaica won WACOPA. I didn't hear any reaction. Seriously? What? You can't perform? But I found that really, really crazy for you to sit down as an American, right? You put your thing together, right? And it's not the first we're doing it because they had this spelling bee script thing, right?
Yes.
And they said, yes, we're setting this all up. And then this little girl comes with her coach named Reverend Archer and just say, can we just take it over? And then the people says, should we continue this? Should we open it to the rest of the world?
Yeah.
Because these are 9 people, right?
Yeah.
But what gets to me is when I'm in Eastern Europe. Let's go very far from Jamaica. And I say, and they ask, where are you from? And I say, I'm from Jamaica. And they go, oh, I have a friend who lives in a part of Jamaica. I said, what part? The Caribbean. And I go, okay. That must be harsh. That must be harsh on my non-Jamaican Caribbean people.
Yeah.
For people to think that the Caribbean is a parish in Jamaica.
Yeah.
And that tells you the kind of good damage that we've done to the world. We've made people understand that this is a space where we're not laugh. We're not normal. Anybody know that? Ever heard that term? We're not normal, right? And it just says a lot. But the first thing I want us to look at is.
But Herbert, before you go on to that,
Yes.
because I want to follow on your point that you're making there. Because you speak of it, of how we go in and take over.
Yes.
But you also need to speak the other side of it, how
Yes.
people come and steal our things.
Yes.
Right? So, for
Yes.
example, how many people recognize that in terms of the music, right? You remember, well, no, you all look young. So you might remember the people like Scotty and some of the early, what do you call them, toasters.
Prince
right?
Buster.
Right. Do you recognize or realize that American rap came out of that?
1980.
Exactly. That's where people like Melly Mel, well, no, you probably don't know what I'm talking about. But that's where some of the what do you call it, foundation American rap stars, that's where they came from. That's what, was the basis of it, you know. And that's the point. So you see, and it works both ways. No, we're careless in some respects.
Yes.
Because I would like somebody to explain to me how Jamaica sit down and allow, it was Japan, I think it is, to basically have taken the name of ganja from us. How? Right? So sometimes we need to recognize and take on board.
We're too airy? You think we're too airy? No problem, on.
No, but they say, no, for real. But I mean, when I was in England, one of the things that fascinated me, I used to sometimes go to the magistrate's court. And one of the things that just amazes me, you sit down and you see these people coming inside here. Where are you from? Jamaica. And you hear from the accent, you see these people never been to Jamaica, but they probably don't know where Jamaica is.
Jamaica?
Right? But Jamaica, believe you me.
Did you mean Jamaica?
Oh, no. You remember this woman on TV, Miss Cleo?
Yes.
Yes, man. Which Jamaican speaks
Come
like that?
to me.
Where on God's green earth you ever hear something like that? But all of a sudden, Jamaica, man, Jamaica is there. So you see, a lot of, sometimes, I don't know, we do have Jamaicans who misbehave and do some stuff overseas. But let's be clear. You go to England, a lot of the Africans go to get themselves into trouble, they go to the court. Yeah, I'm Jamaican. Are people who will go before the court, Jamaicans now. And they go inside and start to tell the judge a breed of bad what they wouldn't believe. So guess what? But the people don't understand what they're talking about. So they had to bring in interpreters. That's that. No, I tell you, we are some of the most fascinating people on the face of this earth. Trust me.
I think the best example of that was my walking through Trafalgar Park and two Jamaicans greeting each other, and the police were like, "We need backup." Because that greeting can't be said in public, and it's a greeting, and I had to walk over to Her Majesty's police officers and say to them, "That's a greeting with so much energy and knocking each other so hard, it looks violent."
No, man.
But it's a greeting. You haven't seen each other for quite a while, and you know what's funny? The greetings from the women is almost as aggressive.
Yeah, man. No, man, we have to understand black people.
We have energy.
We're very physical in it.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
when somebody don't say for a while, I embrace you. You have to muscle up in it.
But we look at some of the transitions, right? We look at some of the transitions from mass culture to high culture. And I want us to talk a little bit about that. And I want us to talk about the economic side of that. We look at a Bob Marley. We look at, and I've deliberately left his name for a while. Because we look at some of these people and what they've done is just awesome. But it took us a while to accept them. Because them have to go foreign and go bust first, right?
Well,
when them go foreign and go bust.
Bob Marley was a dirty-head Rasta boy until he died. Yeah. Let us not forget. It's when he died, all of a sudden, he became this iconic human being. Other than that, trust me. But not that old man.
So self-acceptance is the direction I want us to go. And it's one of the things I've been begging Jamaicans to do, to value what we have. Because you see, the truth of the matter is no human being will actually value something completely when it's just in mass culture.
Yeah.
It has to transition from mass culture to high culture.
Yeah.
But we don't do that. I mean, take ganja, right? And take reggae music. And we're putting those two into one sentence. And we're not doing it carelessly, so stay with us. I'm around Europeans a lot, and I watch them, right? They've had so much beers or lager, if you prefer, and then they're feeling a bit woozy. And they say, "Selector, can you play reggae?" And then you see them stable back, and you go, "After listening to those two songs, I can drink again." And I'm going, that's the power of our music on people compared to people listening to some Western and then picking up a gun and go harm people after listening to that, right? And yet I've heard in the Jamaican society, people speaking about the damage our music has done to our people. And it's one of the areas I've been begging people, just take a second look. Because the best way to analyze something is to go outside and look at it from there. And I think a lot of us don't get a chance to do that. Yeah.
But I will say this still though, in fairness, you have to break it up, I think, in terms of era. Because, for example, you mentioned Bob Marley. I will take you down the line, Peter Tosh,
yes.
Jimmy Cliff.
Yes.
You understand? That, coming up even more modern, you have people like Beres Hammond. I mean, honestly, as terms of a young person, or a young boy.
Youngish.
Chronics.
Yes.
Right? Those are effective contributions to the music.
Right.
However, I'm sorry, this is one time you're going to call me bougie, and I don't care. Them under my clothes thing is not our music.
Yes.
I am very sorry.
Yes.
It is cheating our brand, right? And that is where you end up with the people criticizing the music. We have to recognize that the quality, for us to maintain the integrity of what we have, there must be some standards to it. It can't be that anybody who can hold a mic can just jump up and say a thing. It cannot be
So
like that.
Now you see why I started in the way I did, which is to say you have the high culture, the mass culture, the subculture, the counterculture. Because all of us are going to struggle with the parts that punch this order at us. Right? So it's fine. You can't.
But you see, the thing is simple is that, but there is such tremendous value in it, right? I mean, honestly, when you look at, all right, I want to draw a parallel for you. And I know this is not all just about music and food and so on, but I want to draw a parallel to you. Look at, and these are people who are functional decades apart. Look at, juxtapose these two. Patra, Shensia.
Yes.
You see where I'm going with this?
Good draw.
No, because you see,
I won't say why good draw.
No, but the point is simply this: both have that type of appeal and so and can go far. But there is a difference in terms of the effective delivery and how it works. Also, we have to recognize that, and this is one of my pleas. I don't care whether you sing slackness or you sing other things, but here's the truth: music is a business. It is not a hobby. You have to treat it like a business. And too few of our artists are actually treating this thing as a business. Right? You can't, all right, fine. You sing and you produce some kinds of things that can't hit the airwaves. Here is the reality of life. First time we used to have radio edits. Now they don't bother with that anymore. Right? But here is what you do when you don't have the radio edit. You effectively exclude one whole half of your audience, your potential audience, or potential persons who would buy your music, who will not be going to know dancer, right? And so therefore, you see, there is a middle ground. You can do your raw versions, and they have a radio edit versions, and that way you grab the whole market.
Part of what seemed to be needed in the Jamaican setting in music is for us to teach some of these young people who, because there's a phase, some people sing the songs, first of all, to get the anger out. But it would seem, and I've had the chance to talk to a few of these young men, to say to them, move it to the next level to make some money. We want to hear some ching-ching, you know.
Agreed.
And I find that if they don't have mentors, then it's just the angry music that comes out and they don't make the money because angry music has a limit, which is what you're saying. Of
course. And therefore, because you see, and truthfully, it's not just a Jamaican issue.
No.
Because honestly, when you see, and I take it to a popular artist, or international artist, not Jamaican, she's Puerto Rican, I believe, Jennifer Lopez.
Yes.
J-Lo did a song known as I'm Real with Ja Rule. Now, I will give you a joke. One day I was on the radio, I was playing some music. I was drafting the wrong version. It's a good thing we work with a delay because honestly,
God bless it, right?
let me tell you something. If you ever hear what I call the murderation version of I'm Real with her and Ja Rule, you go to church same time and start to sing Hallelujah. Believe you me. Because no, it's something else, and that's the point that I'm making. You see, but they have sense because they did a radio edit version. Yeah. So most people, unless you go look it up on YouTube or whatever, you're not going to ever hear that, right? But that's the problem with us. We need to recognize that this thing, you're appealing.
It's a business.
Just like in public relations, you hear people talking about you speak to different publics. This is the same thing with the music. You have different audience segments, and you must know how to recognize and how to distinguish between the two so that you optimize your earnings. Yeah. That's really what it is.
Because I've found that there's a difference between, and I'm really emphasizing this point, there's a difference I've seen between young men and young women in the music industry who have a mentor, who have somebody or a group of persons saying, going this way. And I won't call names because mentoring is a private issue, but I've seen so many young people transform, come back and drive. I'll give you a joke. I was driving on Hope Road and I saw a 7 Series BMW. the big stretch one that take up too much of the road. Just zoom past me and then cut in front of me, put on hazard, and I go, don't like these things, not when you work in my area. And the person jumped out and said, Herbs! I said, no, if him say Herbs, I want to mine. And he said, we set the thing, you know. No, I've mentored this young man for 9 years. You know, I don't know if people in mentorship understand when you mentor somebody to the point where you say, just break off and go on, no.
Yeah.
Because you have some mentees that just hang around and then, right, hang around too long. And then, you know, he was in music and he was trying to get into stuff, and I kept on saying to him, do these kinds of stuff, not these kinds of stuff, and so forth. And he says, but I don't have the patience, because when you go up in there, you know, the forward and the whatever. And he has done well today, as you're saying.
Yeah.
Because he was able to expand beyond the narrow market.
And that, I'm glad you segue into that, because it raises a very important point in Jamaica and where we need to really go as we're transforming. Now, we have a population, our economy is roughly 45, 46% informal. And part of that informality is that we have too few people who are effectively trained. No, we have, let me be very clear. Jamaican people are very skilled, but they don't have any certification. And that becomes a barrier in a number of markets.
You need a certificate.
You definitely need it, because if you don't have it, beyond a certain point, you will not be taken on board. Yes. Now, here comes the problem. A number of our persons, young persons in particular, they will go to places like, you know, I don't want to call it near because I'm doing a commercial for nobody, but you have training schools, yes? And people will go in there and they say the course is supposed to be 2 years, 3 years. I guarantee you, after 6 months, some people say they have learned enough and they're gone.
Yeah, me don't.
And that is exactly what is holding us back. That's precisely what is holding us back, because we're not looking at, we don't complete things, right? We don't complete things. So for example, we have a number of foreign entities now in Jamaica who are here, they have established businesses, etc., etc. Want me to give you a little joke? For you to work on, particularly some of them coming out of the US, for you to work on them, the maintenance, etc., etc., you have to be certified, because you also have to have sometimes US certification. Why? Because of insurance. They have to insure whatever you're doing, you have to have the insurance, and they can't get the insurance without that. So this is part of the challenge that we are facing. We need to recognize that we have to drive the certification further. This is not an option that we can't overlook it. We can't say, well, you know, because let's be clear. Yes, we are, frankly speaking, close to full employment now in Jamaica. But can I give you a joke? We could be even further, because what we also have is a significant amount of underemployment. I'm not saying unemployment, or underemployment. And we need to recognize and to transition. You know, the other day I was doing a story, and it caused me to really reflect. Do you know that in the United Kingdom, between 2022 and this year, there's been a decline in entry-level jobs. 33% decline in entry-level jobs. Why? Because of artificial intelligence. No, we can't sit down and pretend as if it's not going to happen. But the truth of it is that there's a fundamental transformation that's occurring in a number of the sectors, right? And over time, you will have displacements. But guess what? It is not, all is not lost, because this is now the time for training. Whether it be upskilling or whatever, but the fact of life is that there are great opportunities now for the persons to be prepared for that market, as well as use the technology to create brand new industries. We've done it before. You know, just to speak about culture, you know the biggest jokes for me was in the UK. And two things I saw that just blew my mind. One, you know what a fried dumpling?
Word?
No, this is the most amazing
don't reach
thing.
patty
you know?
yet?
No,
Okay.
no, but patties are luxury, trust me.
Just fried dumpling.
And I couldn't believe that people at the time they were spending what, 80 pence for a dumpling, for a fried dumpling. At what was the exchange rate? 200 or something, 200 to 1, call it roughly. You recognize that is who would pay that for a dumpling here? And the best one of all, ladies and gentlemen, was guess what? Mangoes. 150 pounds a pair, and they are sold as pets. Now I am sitting there saying to myself, who the right men are buy mangoes? But that's what it is. So I'm just saying to you that you see everything, everywhere you turn, there are real opportunities, but it's for you to recognize, have the discipline to pursue the thing to the full extent, but also to recognize how to capitalize that. Because as I said to people, all the while, what you need to recognize, the difference, if you have a good idea, that's fine. But if you don't monetize it, all you have is an expensive hobby.
Yes.
Right?
We walk around every day in Jamaica and we take a lot for granted. We take our sunshine for granted. We take just each other for granted. And one of the things I find really, really inspiring is when I see the creativity of Jamaicans, where they will look at something and they go, some money in this now, some money in this. That always fascinates me. And I've had so many young people who've come to us, like at Children First, at Fathers Inc., different agencies, and they will say to me, how we make some money out of this. I remember seeing kids one day washing cars at the side of the road, right beside an abandoned building. And I said to them, how that don't pop in your head that you should just inquire about the building, right? And I think this is part of what is holding us up, where we're so accustomed to the hustle that the next step, the step up, doesn't come natural to us.
You don't want to do it.
Right?
And the classic example with that is that, for example, in our agriculture, we produce a lot of primary products. Banana, yam, the whole nine. But guess what? We're not moving fast enough up the value chain. So we're not processing the thing. And here's the irony of it. We produce the primary products. It goes to places, other countries, sometimes within the region.
Put it up and
they
dry it.
put it up, they dry it, sell it back as chips, and sell it to us same one.
Yes.
Right? That is the irony of life, because you have to recognize that the innovation, because where we are going with a number of the issues and the opportunities that we have, because you speak about, and I'm going to keep you on the phone just for 1 second, do you realize from a generational standpoint that after our generation basically goes out of the system, you realize that most of our traditional foods will go with that? How many young people now you hear talking about gizzard, greater cake,
Flan.
drops? You understand what I mean? How many? But because they more easily identify with the fast food chains and fast foods that come out of other countries than with our indigenous foods. So therefore, we have to become more creative. One, we have to ensure that things like, I'll give you a classic one. Most people I've spoken to in recent time, I tell them I have no problem in saying, I love turned cornmeal. Love it. I turn around and say, nobody's dog food.
With fish.
But me tell you, say you know the thing. No, but here is the reality.
Coconut rundown.
No, but here's the reality. You know what is the difference between our turned cornmeal and polenta? $15 because it's the same striking thing. Well, guess what? We sit down and that's what I'm saying to you. There is a cultural penetration and frankly a hijack that's occurring that we have to recognize as we treat with it. Because once we do not recognize the value of what we have, embrace the true value of what we have. It's when I see somebody like Amina Blackwood Mix. Amina is a godsend to this country. Amina is keeping the culture alive through storytelling. That is just a reality of life. You understand? So this is what we have to do. We have to keep the narrative. But I recognize now, ladies and gentlemen, we have to take a quick break. So we'll be back in a bit, or you want me to just go straight to the audience? Okay, fine. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, I call out my friend Amina. Amina, come, rise to the occasion, man.
That was so deliberate, right?
That name set up. Can you hear me?
No, you see, this is the thing now, you know. You cannot silence Amina.
After I'm set me up.
Yes.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Dr. G, my friend Joseph. I want to first of all congratulate the PIOJ on continuing this series of discussions. And I want to thank the firesiders for the presentation so far. I have a million things to say, but in the interest of time and other persons being able to say something, I'm going to condense it to about maybe 5 things. In no particular order. I was laughing when the MC referred to both of you as the lovely young men. And I felt your discomfort. And I said to the representative of persons with disabilities sitting beside me, we would have never noticed that had a man said it about 2 women. So one of the things I think we need to examine as we talk about celebrating the contributions of Jamaican people to national development is the place of women and the treatment of women that we so often take for granted. Mm-hmm. Because until we got to the music, and you could mention Patra and Censure, or whatever her name is, she's same one. Then the examples of the contribution of women were confined to women in sports. And even as we spoke about music, we didn't recognize some of the queens of the music. The I3, for example, the Hortense Ellises, and so on. So that's something that I think we need to examine going forward.
But I mean, before you continue, don't lose the point. But I think it's important to people to recognize. Do you realize that we have a problem of what we call gendered pricing in the Caribbean? Do you know that for women's products, studies have revealed this now, that they cost 42% higher than the comparative male thing? So, for example, a razor blade. I'll let you go to the pharmacy or wherever, and you buy a pink razor blade. Why, for God's sake, I don't know. Because it has the same blade count, same makeup as the blue one, which we buy. 42%. Just keep that in mind. I'm in a back to you.
Thanks. And then as we celebrate those Jamaicans who have excelled, there is a question that bothers me. Is this a result of deliberate national policy or of personal agency? I think the answer is obvious. And there is a way in which we are not teaching and curating for sustainability of the examples and the emergence of those who will follow. It is appalling to me that on the 6th of June, the Chief Technical Development Officer of one of the agricultural institutions announced that Jamaica is about to import 250 cows. To go back to the very same place where Mr. T.P. Lecky did work, and I can WhatsApp it to you, it's still on my phone. So how do we curate our legacy? And I want to suggest that the role of education is something that we need to be looking at very, 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 very seriously. I also want to suggest that one of the things that we often overlook is our spiritual assignment. I never say Christian. No, because sometimes we think that spiritual means Christian. It includes that, but includes every other spiritual philosophy that exists in this place, which powers us and which we don't often recognize. So when Capleton say, I St. Mary may come from, I've never asked him. But St. Mary is the place of Dottie Bookman and Chief Taki. That's a serious spiritual energy that powers us, which we need to give some kind of primacy to when we talk about the role of culture as being the dominance of the ritualized practices and so on. Where does our spiritual grounding factor into that which we have been able to accomplish? That amazes me. We can't believe it as much as it amazes you. And then the other thing that I feel I want to say at this point in time is high culture, subculture, counterculture. Do all of those things have to be in contestation? Because that is what I understood, that they are in contestation. And why can't they exist on their own legitimacy? And why does it seem that we are afraid, sometimes ashamed, to interrogate our culture and say, no, we don't really want that? When we talk about gender issues, for example, we left out racial issues as well. Do I really want to teach my children, say, Umana Ebi Lord, when Friday evening come and the money not enough? Do I really want to continue to teach them folk songs about how we lip favor liver, but we want lipstick? So those are the things I felt I wanted to say at this point in time.
Thank you so much. Come on.
Thank you very much. That was actually very beautiful. I want to start with the fact that I want everybody to make an attempt at some point to just look at what happens to rats or any experiment when everybody agrees. You want a hint as to what happens? So you die if you all agree, right? You literally, cognitively, and even physically begin to deteriorate if everybody lives in a space where you all agree, right? And it's something I've actually noticed among people, like couples that never have a quarrel, that never have any contestation. They're just always together. And people said them look like each other now. Ever hear that term yet? Them actually behave like each other, favor each other. They usually don't produce the best products. Sounds strange, but cultures were designed, parts of cultures were designed to go at each other and challenge each other. And in doing so, it makes you better. And some persons have said to me, but herbs is a lot of energy though, because sometimes me just tired. Notice I didn't use the English word. Sometimes me just tired, me tired bad. And I said to them, but what have you produced? Because the essence of our being here is to produce a better set of people. So naturally, so it's natural for parts of culture to coincide and at the same time question each other. And in so doing, we create at least the possibility of equality. Because that is why subcultures and countercultures and all of these, right? And I've said to people, we would never be where we are today in our consciousness without a Marcus Garvey, without Rastafari, right? And that has been very central to our questioning the things that we call high culture at the time, which was almost completely British. And so, especially for people who've been colonized, your subculture and your counterculture are critical to the direction you want to end up going. I want to also quickly say that I'm happy you raised the matter of education, because we have two extreme versions in Jamaica that bother me. The first one is my generation over-educating the next generation. And let Gen X people need to take this as an issue. because it is an issue. I sat down with a young woman one day. She had just got $25 million. And she said to me, Herbs, you know, can I speak to you for a moment? And I said, yes, my dear. And I sat down with her. She came to my office and she sat down with me and she said to me, just got $25 million. My lawsuit came through. I have the money. It's in my account because I told them I will take half of it right up front and no more rather than over the years. Yes. So I have $25 million and I want to come and do my degree. I said, you're mad? I was shook after Barra Jensi word. I was shook. You have 25 million and want to come to UE? I said, no, dear, no. You're going to open a business, start a business, and I helped her. You're going to start this business, and when you have people from UE and UTech and all other places working, then you go. She never thought of it because remember, our generation, Gen X people have been hammering their head, they need to be educated. But we need to give people a broad sense of options. Mm-hmm. And education is one of them. But the other extreme also exists, where some people say, nah, sir, education don't make any sense. And then they end up with dollars, but no sense.
No sense, yeah, quite so. Because
yes?
It's so true.
So balance is needed.
Yeah. Because I mean, the irony of it, if you think about it, when you're all at school, right? You remember the teacher would ask, so what you want to be in life? And you have somebody come up and they say, I want to be a policeman. This one says, I want to be a nurse, doctor, lawyer, blah, blah, blah. You remember, just think back. You remember what the reaction was when you say you want to be a businessman? It's almost as if you commit a cardinal sin. You know, have no ambition.
That don't require no school, you're
idiot type of story. And the reality of life is that coming out of that sort of cultural paradigm, what we're driving is that to be an entrepreneur is somehow less than. We encourage people to go and seek the stable 9-to-5, 40-hour work week type thing, and we instill in the narrative that if you continue, all you have to do is go to school, you get a good education, come out, you get a job, you work hard, and I'm supposed to borrow the American phrase, what do you call it now? The narrative, as it were. You then get the white picket fence, and you know, the beautiful bungalow and the white picket fence.
We say up on a hill.
You know, well, yeah, but the point is simply this. And that's why I agree with you, because we have to change that entire narrative. Yeah. And the last thing I want to say, as we go back to the audience here, is the issue of religion. We have to get over ourselves. Christianity is not the only game in town. And trust me, I've worked in other countries where you have, oh God, you probably have 9, 10 at the very least type of religious affiliations that people are joined up with. So you have to learn tolerance. And this, I think at some point I would love, and clearly, well, not in this setting, but I would love to hear a deeper conversation about this emerging debate on the OBIA Act and whether or not where we really stand in 2025 as we look forward. But anyway, enough of me. Back to the audience here. I don't know who wishes.
So one quick bit on religion. It's an area for people who know me know I grew up in a very, let me borrow a word, churchical environment. and what bothers me about religion is that we haven't worked out in our heads yet a religious frame that allows you to stay connected for your life. Yeah. This is what we do in Jamaica and in the rest of the Caribbean and in fact in the LAC. We start out birth to 12 years old, and then we begin to find ourselves. And as we find ourselves, we move away from church, right? And then we come back after we found ourselves. And I've asked quite a number of clergy, right? Even as I work around 17 of the countries around us, I said to them, why have you sat down and analyzed why you have offer? In fact, I was very rude about it. Why you get the chance to collect the piggy bank offering from the children and then the offering from the aged and the middle aged. But you've lost all the offerings and the contributions of the group called youth and so forth. And I found that we shouldn't have to leave. I can pick out of a hat 100 names very quickly of people who've done tremendously well, who left their church, did their, achieved everything, then came back to the church because the principles of the church was too oppressive or too repressive for them not to be able to achieve what they wanted. And it's an area that people have to work out, because how does that represent the God that you're trying to sell? The God that you're trying to impart, this God that is punitive, that we sell, right? And even as we discuss things with children, it's always punitive. We finished the 2022 study for the Ministry of Education, and we found that the number one framework of discipline in schools is being punitive. When we asked teachers and principals and so forth about what about restorative, what about creative, what about, and we look at the different ways in which you can discipline a child, their mouth just open like yabba pot, like what they know about is punish, almost like you just step out from slavery and you eat one joint of cane too much and you get punished. And I think all of us have to begin to move from there and allow our children this thing called adventure, right? So that, remember, we achieve it, but we achieve it by backsliding, by cussing, by rebelling, by whatever. And to me, it would be beautiful for us to have an environment, right? A broader environment in which children can grow and think and be creative. So 4 belts very quickly in character education we found. And the one that is most restricted in Jamaica is intelligence, as in street smarts, because we're so scared, right? We don't want the kids to actually learn things on their own. And I find that these are the children who are going to achieve the most. But my humble request of us is simply to allow them to experience these things with guidance rather than through rebellion. Yeah?
All right, back to the audience. Anybody wishes to intervene at this point? No? This gentleman here in the front. For my edification, my brother, please introduce yourself.
Good morning. I'm Sean Thorpe, Dean of the Faculty of Engineering and Computing at UTEC.
Yes.
What used to be cast.
Yeah, which was cast.
Yes.
We're quite proud of it today. Cast to UTEC. This has been a journey. So this is a very, very interesting discussion you're having. And in the context of what you describe our young people needing to do now, you mentioned AI, for example, taking over the jobs. I think we need to promote a digital culture, because the youth who are here now are really digital natives, believe it or not. What you gave us the historic past of what we grew up in Jamaica sort of dawned on me very clearly that the generation is changing, right? And we have to recognize that with change, we have to embrace what is before us and what is to come, such that the argument of the job losses can also be complemented by the opportunities that AI brings to the space. Even in a space like where we are now and how we are trying to promote digital culture, those creatives that you mentioned could leverage the use of AI to support the outcomes of new job opportunities that are not yet in the market, which is what higher education institutions are doing, or should be doing, if they are not doing it, right? And I will also argue, those youngsters who you mentioned go to a training course and spend 6 months and they're gone. Right. I think we have to figure out how that 6 months can actually also work for them as a function of getting them into the market, into the job with the market. Because the reality, that philosophy, that culture still exists. Nobody wants to necessarily spend 3-4 years doing a degree
Yes.
anymore, and this affects all institutions in Jamaica. So we have to sort of pivot and sort of rethink and say, okay, 6 months to give these youngsters opportunities will probably give them a brighter opportunity of a future. It gets them engaged, especially in this argument of culture and appreciating what we have. And I do have some students like that. I'm very proud to say who are doing some of that. But that's my thought based on the conversation.
I'm happy you raised that because even at the UWI, and we know UTech is on the same road, we recognize that we really have to sit down and look at what is most practical at this point, right? I think the pragmatism is missing in some areas, in institutions of higher learning and institutions overall, because a lot, if you notice, after COVID, a lot of universities, so for a lot of universities, the enrollment went down in the first one, then it just boomed up as people flood to online, and then when it went back to face-to-face, then a lot of persons took their time and disengaged from education and go, I can't manage face-to-face because I have 3 jobs. So a lot of work is needed, and I know that universities are grappling with this, to how you create blended systems, to how you create evening schools, to how you create all of these things, because clearly, the wider the competition, the more you have to become innovative to fit these people in. So there's a lot of work going on. And the other thing is, Jamaica is now seen as an economy of education, because everybody has a branch in Jamaica now. So we, as in UTech, UE, and the rest of us, have to begin to meet people where they're at in a more pragmatic manner. Yeah, thanks for that. There's one at the back.
At the back, okay.
Yes. And there's a person who has a number of questions in her head, but hasn't put her hand up yet.
Don't frighten them yet, you know. Because you see, both of us come out of an education setting, and we have no problems in calling on people.
She's wearing glasses. She keeps leaning her head to the left and to the right, which means I have questions for those who do body reading, but hasn't put her hand up yet, so I'm waiting on her.
Yes, Mr. Green. Okay.
Now, we're really here talking about celebrating and contribution. So I appreciate the constructive criticism, for example, about music. But I would really want to stick to the theme and to pick up on that question of religion to say we should add to the celebration the contribution that we have made to religion globally in the form of Rastafari.
Yes.
And I raise it because whereas we can all identify, everybody in the room will readily agree, if we raise Rastafari, the truth is, if we were to go across the country and engage on, well, who were some of the leaders who founded this global movement, then we get into a kind of discussion that would be restricted to elites. So we have some work to do. There is something that struck me some years ago, something that happened. Phenomenal in my view, but a missed opportunity in Jamaica as a collective. And it really goes to how we celebrate contribution. Unfortunately, too often it is limited to what is naturally spotlighted. So sport, for example, and entertainment are naturally spotlighted. You don't have to do a lot in addition to being good at what you do. As a matter of fact, you can actually not be very good, and you are highlighted by virtue of where, you know, just the medium in which you're located. But here's the phenomenal thing. Some years ago, the Rhodes Scholarship, and we know its antecedents, that's not what I'm talking about. It signals, or should signal, outstanding contribution, cerebral contribution. And the Rhodes Scholarship had to celebrate its centenary. 100 years of significant contribution across the world. And they searched for 5 individuals who could they could hold up to the world at the centenary and say, here is the embodiment of what a road is supposed to stand for. They had people like Bill Clinton, who was president of the United States, all kinds of people. And of the 5, one was the late Professor Rex Nettleford. That was nothing in Jamaica. I mean, it has happened, and we have moved on. There's a chap called Delroy Cowan who founded Coney Park in Jamaica. Many younger people won't remember him because they won't remember that we actually had a Coney Park in Jamaica. But Delroy Cowan actually invented mobile advertising in the world. The first of that, where you're driving a vehicle and you are advertising, that is now commonplace across the world. So we have some issues around the compendium of all the Jamaicans who have contributed. And to go back to Amina's point, that has to be mainstreamed in education, almost like a Celebrate Jamaica part of education. So Leonard Howell, who is he? I don't really care about Rastafari, just like I probably don't care about Christianity, but I know about Jesus. Leonard Howell, that is who we are going to connect with, Rastafari, and he's Jamaican. Marcus Garvey, we're going to connect. Delroy Cowan, I've never heard of that man. I don't know about Coney Park, but it's important to know that we are innovators. Rex Nettleford, not because he was just some dancer or former vice chancellor at University of the West Indies, but when the Rhodes Scholarship had to decide after 100 years, who do we hold up to the world? There was a Jamaican. So I just wanted to add that.
Thank you very much. That is absolutely beautiful. And the matter of Rastafari is very deep, because when we spoke earlier about Marcus Garvey and his influence on Rastafari and so forth, I mean, we have time constraints, but it's of importance, and thanks for that, because when you go abroad, and I remember it's not so bad anymore, and I say bad because it used to be annoying. You would say to people that, I'm from Jamaica, so where your locks there? And people would actually make an attempt to speak in Jamaican language, where your locks there? Irie-man. So Rastafari has been part of our global identity, and in fact part of our global culture marketing. Thank you.
Well, Herbert, I can tell you honestly, as we go to the next speaker from the audience, like for me, nobody would ask me where my locks is, because my hair is in full retreat.
Yes.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Christine Hendricks, and I'm from the Jamaica Council for Persons with Disabilities. As I look on the theme, celebrating the contributions of the Jamaican people to national development, the conversation would not be complete if I sit without indicating the contributions of persons with disabilities to our national development as we move towards a more inclusive society to make our Jamaica a better place. I think of persons such as Sarah Newland Martin, who was that sportswoman back in the day that really championed the cause, and the entire disability sector who propelled government to national policy and to the Disabilities Act that we have today. Monica Bartley was part of that group of women too, and persons with disabilities, along with the Wilbert Williamses and the Derek Palmers and so on, who ensured that we have an act, not perfect, but we have a piece of legislation to help to protect the rights of persons with disabilities in Jamaica. We have, of course, from the music side, we have Fab Five, and we continue to do so very well with other Jamaicans who are either blind or visually impaired, who are excellent musicians. This morning, as Dr. Henry spoke, I saw sign language in the background, and I know it is not gone far, but it's emerging to ensure part of that inclusive culture that we are building, and ensuring that we leave no one behind. We have persons who are deaf who are part of our country, and they too need to be part of the conversation. Of course, we all know about Senator Floyd Morris, you know, and the work that he continues to do, our Paralympians and our Special Olympians. And so as we celebrate the contributions of our Jamaican people to national development, we must mention persons with disabilities.
Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much for that. I know. He's just pass back the mic to Samantha for me, because I'm going to put her on the spot. Because there is a new, Herbert, an emerging, I call it industry in Jamaica, which has taken the market by storm. And that is youth, man. Don't hand off the mic to anybody now. This is the matter of the social media influencers. Right. And Samantha, I want to get your quick perspective, 30 seconds, as to how do you see from where you guys would have started to where you see the marketing has emerged thus far, or how you see it going as we go forward? Because clearly it's a growth industry that most people don't even speak about. So walk me through it quickly.
Okay, so I believe through social media influencers, it basically it's a good way to push our culture. That's one. It shows how innovative our people are, because you know you have to. I mean, creating these videos, whether it be for advertisement or even for your personal content, it takes talent. It takes really and truly going to the drawing board and, you know, putting these things together. And through that, it helps to put Jamaica on the map. You know, I recently saw an influencer. She did a procedure. And, you know, as a Jamaican, she was able to make an impact there. And, you know, they were asking her, you know, can we get a promotion? And, of course, you know, she added her Jamaican flair to whatever it is that she was doing. So it's definitely also a stream of income, I will say. Persons get paid well from it. But, of course, you know, it takes a lot of work. I see it adding value to Jamaica, but I also see it being able to do some damage as well. So, you know, it takes having some control in the space, as well as, you know, being very careful with how you present it. But definitely an impact, you know, when it comes on to national development.
All right. Thank you so much. All right.
Wondering if okay.
Because I had a feeling they were going to pick on me. I decided to volunteer myself. Good morning.
Right, rather than keep leaning your head left, right.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Shara Watson, the Executive Director of the Scientific Research Council. And representing science and technology in Jamaica, thought it important in the theme looking at contribution of Jamaicans who have really moved us from one point to another, to highlight some of the scientists who has done such. I'll start with Paris Loahi Jr., because he's my board chairman, but mainly because of the work he has done through monogeomatics and continue to do with mapping of Jamaica. Listen, you got some places in other countries, them Google Maps cannot take you to certain address you put in. Put any single address in Jamaica you want to get to, and you'll get there very efficiently. That is the kind of work that was done and done very early on. We were probably one of the first Caribbean countries who could have used those navigation systems because of the work that was done. And that is at international development. We are connecting, we're able to connect and get to places. Yeah. Next person I want to highlight is Professor Errol Morrison. The work he has done on diabetes. Diabetes is one of the significant diseases that affects us, our demographic, Africans, Jamaicans, the Caribbean. The work that Prof. Morrison has done with his research group, with the YAM and just diabetes management has made significant impact, not just here, but on the world over. Then another younger person, someone that I worked with, is Dr. Simone Badalma McCree. If you don't know that name, make sure you know it. This is a rising star. She has developed a cancer cell line from persons who look like we, so that drugs can be developed that is more in line to help treat persons that look like we when we develop certain kind of cancers. Now that is a global impact, because we are not the minority globally, right? And Dr. Henry Lowe, I had the pleasure of working with Dr. Henry Lowe. He spoke about his work in science and nutraceutical, but I want to speak from the perspective of being an entrepreneurial scientist. He made us younger scientists know that the science is not stuck in our lab, it's not stuck in our thesis, it's not stuck in our one journal, it must be applicable. And all of these persons, I believe, through their professions, have really helped to develop and shape Jamaica and inspire persons like me and those to come, that we can continue on that work. Thank you.
Well said.
Beautiful. I remember working in a couple countries, and I realized they had no geoinformatics, no GIS, no nothing. I remember sitting down with a couple parliamentarians and said, you know, here's the phone number for Paris, you need to call him. And he has gone and trained them. So, yes, that says a lot.
That says it all.
And he's Jamaican, he's as Jamaican as it can be.
All right.
The question hasn't come from that person yet? You really want us to pick on you? Keep leaning. Yes, man. Yeah, man. She knows. She has a question. Kindly stand and have the question, man, rather than leave with it. Go straight to her, because she's been boiling with it. Thank you very much. She know her selfie. Yes, my dear.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
I actually don't have a question, but what came to mind from listening is the point of inclusivity and inclusion. And Ms. Hendricks here would have, when she said it, I'm like, okay, good. I don't have to get up and speak to that. But what I thought about with Dr. Meeks and what you were talking about as it relates to the different culture, and she brought up the point where does it have to be competitive or one against the other, or can they all exist? What came to my mind as a special education educator is what are the silent messages that we give as it relates to saying, I don't have enough time, or I have this opinion, I'm doing this, but what is it that we do? What are the messages? Let me figure it out in my head first, because I feel like I'm not explaining right. I remember when the young man spoke about 6 months, and we have to put something in place that caters to that generation that doesn't have the patience, as you spoke about. But when I listened, I said, yes, we have to cater and tap into why is it that they can only focus for 6 months. But on the other hand, what is the message that we are giving if we say something is supposed to be for a year and we're going to shortchange or break it down for 6 months? In certain things, I think we have to make sure the message is clear that you need the longevity, the long term, and not just, okay, 6 months, let me see how I can work it for you. But there are certain things that we have to be clear on, and we can't compromise. And that too is a part of our culture and what sets us apart. And for persons with disability, and it's not just persons with disability. When I thought of the 6 months, I don't know why that came into my head with the patients. I thought about the message about, as it relates to patients, the elderly, the person with disability, the person that is different. We have to, there is this message where we need to move. We need to move ahead. We need to move on. Oh, don't wait on her. Why is that person, you can't wait on the person to come through the door. They're moving too slow. So when Sir spoke about that is what came to my mind as it relates to us just looking at the silent messages when we're putting out there.
Yeah.
When it comes to patience and taking the time to do things, to learn things. It's not that it has nothing to do with being practical or pragmatic, but that element of compassion that we need to look at as we look at where we're going, what we're doing, trying to be relevant, and all of that is important. But we have to also look at that message that we're putting across, and as it relates to compassion.
Yeah.
What are we saying?
Yeah.
When we're pursuing certain things,
Yeah,
that element of
Thank you very much. Point very well taken. Herbert, as we bring this conversation to a close, the things that strike me, we need to learn balance in our country.
Yes.
Because I'm going to tell you something. You know, with the advent of the technology, and we have all sorts of things going on. One of the things that we need to recognize is that there has to be a balance with the use of technology and with what you call the traditional old school education.
Yes.
How many young people now can write a letter?
Yeah.
Right? Because trust me, I've been in situations as people come out of university, PhD. I really have to ask a question or two. Because when they write the letter, yes and no.
So he's looking at me when he say out of university,
this need a serious intervention. But the point is simply this. And on the other side of the coin, as we transition to the technology, please remember that you have elderly people who are not au fait with the technology. It can be all or nothing. Yeah. It cannot be that you're saying to somebody, oh, everybody must go online for this. A lot of people in this country do not have effective access to the internet. One, or two, they don't understand how to use it. You understand? So there has to be balance in whatever we're doing. And those will be my parting words. Right. Let's work with balance. We're proud of what we have done so far. We can accomplish a whole lot more. Yeah. We have the potential. But the fact of life is that let's move forward with what we would call deliberate speed.
Right. I will leave all policymakers and everybody, parents, everybody, with something that I had to create in 2008. Sat down with a couple parliamentarians in 5 countries, and they were just waxing beautifully at this conference how they're going to change their countries. And I asked them, have you considered the pool? And they all looked at me and I go, oh, it's just something I created. It's just possible outcomes that were unintended.
Yeah.
A pool. And the pun is important. I find quite often we come up with brilliant ideas, but we haven't looked at all the possibilities of the results that can come from that. And that's precisely why I sat there listening to them. I said, no, man, I need to give them something that they will stay in their head. So recently one of them called me, Herbs, we have a set of policies. I want you to look for the pool. And I sent them a whole list of all the things that could go wrong and so forth, which they've now put in place in their countries. But it is a note for us to say what good on. And it's the matter of, as we move forward in this country, let's not shut people down. I've found that we have a habit of closing doors to some people. We look at some people and we go, yeah. So I'll share with everybody something that happened to me at 12 years old. Yes, and I'm not one of those persons who have a hitch to say at 12 years old I was very much employed, right? And I was selling books at the time, and I went to deliver books to a woman, and I saw the woman at the front, sweeping up the front in really dirty clothes. There's no euphemism for it. Her clothes were dirty. And I said to her, I'm looking for Mrs. Curlew. So, I was in Savlamar. And she goes, she's inside. And then when I went inside, the people inside said, no, you just pass her at the front. And I went back to her. Of course, by this time, my head was like this because I had learned the lesson. And she said, obviously you learned. And I said, Mrs. Curlew, from this point onwards, I tell you straight up, I will never ever underestimate anybody. I've learned my lesson, Mom. And she says, you know what? I'm going to buy the entire stock because I need you to be okay, know that you learned the lesson. And it's something I find that, right, I was in another country. I had a whole research team with me, and I'm actually making sure you get this one if you've lost everything else. Dark, lanky, not even medium skin, dark skin, but I'm the lead of this massive team. And I have a lot of light-skinned people on the team. And you know what happened? The restaurant people took the bill to the people that I paid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I humbly said to them, yes, it's the dark-skinned one who is actually the boss this time. Next time, one of the light-skinned ones will be the boss. But I need us to leave here with this resolve that everybody you see, every single male, female, and whatever else God creates, everybody you see is a human being and has the capacity to make this country richer in spirit, in culture, and economically. Those are my messages as I close today. God bless you all. Take care of yourself.
All right. Thank you to our handsome gentlemen. I stand corrected this time. So what a wonderful discussion. I don't know how I could just come in after such a discussion, but I will try this afternoon. So we thank you to our wonderful participants in our discussion today. It was a riveting one. I think it left us with a lot of thought-provoking questions coming from here today. Things that I must highlight, though, the food, the culture, the agriculture. We touched on it when he said, Dr. T.P. Lecky, I'm in love with cows. So I know very much about Dr. T.P. Lecky. And I'm sure one day when I have my cow pasture, I'll invite you guys up there to see all my breeds of cows in the future. Just wait on it. But it just highlights the resilience of us as Jamaican people and the passion. When Dr. Herbert Gale and Mr. Cox were talking about the passion of the people, how we don't just say things, we say things with our entire bodies and our entire beings. And that's who we are as Jamaican people. So as we progress, we know this is a Vision 2030 Jamaica event, and we're going to take time now to see a short video presentation on Vision 2030, and you can look to your screens for this presentation. Thank you.
We thank you, Jamaica, our home, our inspiration, our heartbeat, for giving us roots deep enough to stand tall and dreams big enough to reach the world. Thank you.
Thanks to all who form part of Jamaica's productive sectors and through your efforts contribute to our national income. We thank all business people who through entrepreneurship have generated employment and promoted creativity and innovation. You, our manufacturers, tourism stakeholders, traders and vendors, farmers, fishers, transporters, and all other business people are engines of growth. We thank all employees who work hard in driving productivity and contributing to business success. Thank you.
We thank you, our leaders, who through debate, dialogue, and representation have guided us through establishing and building the Jamaican nation state. We also thank you, our teachers, nurses, healthcare workers, police officers, and other public servants for all you have done in providing public goods and services such as education, healthcare, social insurance, housing, roads, and other types of infrastructure, and the support you have given for business development. Thank you all for what you have done.
Thanks to the Jamaican diaspora, you proudly carry our flag in foreign lands. You spread our music, our food, our spirit, and are ambassadors of hard-working Jamaicans who excel across a range of fields. Through your businesses, investments, remittances, and relationships with your families and friends still a yard, you are helping to build the Jamaica we want, together. Thank you.
We thank our families and communities, the street corners, community shops, and neighbors' homes where kindness still lives, the meeting grounds where culture dances, and the homes where we host our 9 nights, prayer meetings, laugh together, and eat some good food.
Thanks to our children and youth, you are the ember that ignites our future. You are ready to lead with guidance, opportunity, and love. Thank you all.
We thank our elders. Your life, experience, and stories are our lessons and guidance. Your resilience is our compass. You have walked paths we now build upon, and you continue to contribute to our growth and development and nation building. Thank you.
We thank every Jamaican who has played a part in making Jamaica the place of choice for making seemingly impossible dreams reality, breaking world records and creating a renowned nation brand. Whether at home or abroad, in silence or on stage, in small deeds or bold actions, you have helped to shape the nation we are proud of today.
We thank you, Jamaica, for being more than a place, for being the definition of the Jamaican people. Let us continue to build and partner in making Jamaica the place of choice to live, work, raise families, and do business.
What a beautiful video. We thank you, Jamaica, for all. And as we continue on this thanks to Jamaica, and as we reflect on the passion, the resilience, and pride that we as people have experienced, let us now invite Miss Safia Officer as she gives a rendition of a piece entitled Of Visions and Love, written by Desmond E. Dennis, which is a poetic piece put together specifically for the Vision 2030 Jamaica blog located on the Vision 2030 Jamaica website. Please join me in welcoming Miss Safia Officer. Give her a round of applause.
It might have been a dream, or it could have been a premonition. But I still see it, still see her, My love, Jamaica. I remember how warm I felt, taken in, taken aback, taken forward, made to search for her face. My love, Jamaica. In the dream, I fell in love with the way the sun smiled when she awoke, and how the moon almost borrowed its light from the light from her children. Then I fell madly for the way her warriors, defenders, protectors worked to preserve the beauty of her lush greens and the brilliance of her blues. I fell in love with who she was. I fell in love with her story. Stories, sounds, moves, and movements. Fabrics wrapping her. What was once Jamaica, land praised by the foreholders. Thought, stolen, sold. Now stands my proud love, Jamaica. Reclaimed, reimagined, restored. What beauty, past and future, steel and mortar, framed by eternal wood and water. Her lasting treasures famously hidden continue to pull the world into her hub, sanctuary, where all learn from the best to produce the best and be the best versions of themselves. Where bodies were broken, rebuilt cities bright as diamonds. Minds harness immeasurable potential. Mine infinite pools of knowledge and prepare the blueprint for rich, self-sustaining cities and balanced economic systems. All wealthy, all equal, all prosperous. Partnering to eliminate hunger and infighting, only going to war against violence and the exploitations of sweet love's sacred energy reserves. Her people, their talents, and their produce. I saw it. People protecting the fauna, the flora, the land, sustaining the people divinely ordered. Why does my love for my love consume me like I consume her world-class cuisine and culture? I've sat with this love for a while. I sit still. It might have been a dream. It could have been a premonition. But I saw it. Still see her. The place of choice to live, work, raise families, and do business. My love, Jamaica. This was a poem by Desmond D. Dennis called Of Visions and Love. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. My love, my Jamaica. So as we continue today, a day of love for Jamaica, I will now invite Mrs. Pisha Lee Bryan. She is the Program Director of the Vision 2030 Jamaica, and she will deliver to us her closing remarks, after which I will come back with some short announcements for us. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for being here. Thank you for taking the time to be with us. So I'm not going to do long closing remarks. I think we've all talked, right? We've talked a lot. And so we're going to rush into the other parts of the day that should be a little bit more fun. But just to say, this initiative is very important. As we think about Jamaica, and the reason we talk about loving Jamaica, and I'm just reiterating it, is because we love Jamaica, but we want what's best for ourselves as Jamaicans and our country. But the only way we can do that is if we start to love Jamaica with purpose. And the whole idea of this series of Love Jamaica initiatives is to add that purpose. And when we think of long-term national development planning, I know we sometimes think of, well, Vision 2030 Jamaica is going to be up in 2030. But the whole idea of this initiative, too, it serves a dual purpose, is to have us to start think about what we can do, what capacity and resources we have for the way forward beyond 2030. So we'll be coming to some of you, and we mentioned this last time on February 14th, because we have commenced the comprehensive evaluation of Vision 2030 Jamaica, and it is to inform the way forward. And so I'm not going to repeat what anybody has said in my closing remarks, but simply to say what we gathered today and what we will gather as we come and speak to you is towards bringing Jamaica to the place of choice. And I know it's a place of choice for many of us, but we want to make it the place of choice. As I told kids once when they asked me what that means, I said, sometimes when you know somebody when they go foreign, but they're going to visitor's visa, but them overstay, because they think that place is made of milk and honey. I said, well, guess what? It's when we become the place of choice, people are going to come to Jamaica and overstay. Well, yes, Mr. Green, they do that. But we're going to be that country that people want to come. Not that I am encouraging illegal immigration, but just to say people want to. And I'm saying that because as we move forward today, let us take the lessons about the greatness that comes from Jamaica and about all that is good and rich in this culture that propels us, that drives us, that have Shelley at 38 still running, because the Jamaican spirit is one that what? You ever know a Jamaican will give up? So that's the point of this, that Jamaicans, we don't give up. And so my closing remarks is simply to say, we're not gonna ever done with just a comma. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much, Mrs. Bryan. As we wind down, we have a short video presentation that we will watch, after which I will come in with some giveaways, and then I invite you all to have refreshments. So thank you. You can keep your eyes attuned to the screen.
I love Jamaica. Jamaica good for me, Everyone make it in Jamaica. I love Jamaica. Jamaica good for me, Everyone make it better play in Jamaica.
I mean, for people that are making Jamaica a better place, their own way would be more likely the service industry. Because on a daily basis, the they would be probably the people them where people don't pay attention to that much, probably take them for granted, but yet them actually are the ones to make the machinery of the economy continue to work as though it is right here. Like the taxi bus and then people will always have to come up on the road and make sure say them reach on time, have to pick up clients and drop them at work. And like the taxi bus and then people will always have to come up on the road and make sure say and drop them at work. And
in terms of healthcare, we're the ones on the front line. We talk to the patients, we make sure that they're doing well, and you know, we really bond and connect to patients, and we feel it when something happens to them. We feel it for their loved ones. Nurses are doing such an amazing job, and you know, keep your head up, guys, and continue to do great. Driving the youth forward, I think overall will help Jamaica move forward.
I am making Jamaica a better place. I'm Hans Beckford, I'm a physiologist. The fact that I'm very sensitive at doing work on the environment, to me this is sterling and we move towards, making our environment healthier. I convert waste, degradable waste into organic growing media for plants. I am making Jamaica a better place.
Some doctors and nurses. Why? Because they're always good at what they do and they keep us going, keep us safe.
An organization doing good work is Lifeyard, that's based in Fleet Street, downtown Kingston. They set up initiatives with the youth whereby they teach them literacy, mathematics, and make sure that they're active, but also develop their mental and emotional wellness, headed by Sabuki and some other ones who are doing fantastic work. So check them out, they're on Fleet Street. Support the cause, yeah.
My name is Moni McCarthy, paralegal, licensed international recruiter, and U.S. immigration consultant. At this time, I do think it's the lawyers. We are making peace. We're actually trying to make most of our cases, I would say, successful, and to make peace in our country amongst our nations.
Thank you. So those were some good videos, and we saw persons from different industries thanking just and telling us what makes Jamaica special. So as we close out today, can't be a fun event without some giveaways. And I'd like to invite my model Samantha to come on the stage to show you what you will be able to win if you answer any of our questions correctly, courtesy of Vision 2030 Jamaica. And so these are for both our persons online as well, or online viewers. We did not forget you. You can tune into the Vision 2030 Facebook or Instagram page, that is Vision 2030 JA. And you can tune in for your questions there, where you will have the opportunity to also win one of these wonderful baskets after you have presented your national identification for collection with the correct name. All right, so I will ask questions, and I guess the first person that raises their hand with the correct answer will be the lucky recipient of one of our baskets, courtesy of Vision 2030 Jamaica at the PIOJ. So my first question, and I'm going to ask a very easy question. A Jamaican scientist, and this is a true or false, so this is a very easy one. A Jamaican scientist helped to save the papaya industry. True or false? And if, I see, Dr. Watson, the lady behind her, she had her hand up and she's shaking. You can join me up here, and you can give me some background if you do have it as well. Hold on, let me run to her.
Answer is true, and it's Dr. Paula Tennant. Yes.
All right, so she is correct. Dr. Paula Tennant developed the genetically engineered solar sunrise papaya, which is resistant to the papaya ring spot virus, and her work saved Jamaica's papaya export industry from collapse in the 1990s and early 2000s. So you can come up, and our wonderful model Samantha will present you with your basket today. All right, so we have another question. Let me see who will get this one. Okay, what fruit did a Jamaican create by mixing an orange and a tangerine? Oh, Dr. Watson. Arsenic, that is correct. Would you want to tell us more about the arsenic? Let me get it.
It's a beloved Jamaican fruit. It was developed here at UWI, I believe, through interbreeding of, as you said, the orange and the tangerine. I don't know anything more technical than that.
Well, you can join us for your wonderful basket. The arsenic is a citrus hybrid created by Dr. David Daniel Phillips. It is a mixture of an orange and a tangerine, combining sweetness, easy peeling, and strong aroma. It became a popular export fruit and a symbol of Jamaican agricultural innovation. Sweetness, easy peeling, and strong aroma. It became a popular export fruit and a symbol of Jamaican agricultural